Welcome to the Coda podcast. I am Roo from Roo Films, and in today's episode, I'll be speaking with Boomer from Multiply Media and Multiply Sound. Based in Oregon in the United States, Multiply Media comprises of wife and husband duo Sarah and Boomer. Leaning into their backgrounds as talented artists and musicians, they create stunning story-led films that dive deep into the personalities of their couples. In this chat, Boomer talks us through their unique story sessions that help create the backbone of their films, and also the incredible film score sound pack that they've developed to help wedding filmmakers take their music and sound design to the next level. So another episode of the Coda podcast, and we have Boomer from Multiply Media. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, my man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor. Let's chop it up, dude.
Thank you for joining us, our first international guest.
No way.
Let's get into the questions. So I'd like to start off, mate, with some kind of quick fire questions. Now,
yeah,
I know Multiply Media and Multiply Sound, it's going to evolve over the coming months and years. But so we'll get into that kind of progression. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start with the wedding side of things. So how many weddings are you current? Like the last couple of years, how many weddings have you been shooting each year?
Man, it's been all over the place. I've been in this industry for about 4 years now, and first year was 20. The next year was 32, which that almost killed me. Never doing that again. And then went back to 20, and then last year was 10. And then this year is 8.
So what was your journey into wedding filmmaking? How did it all begin?
Yeah, I mean, I have a background in music, which that's kind of the foundation of everything. Slowly figured out that it's very, very difficult to have a music career. Not many people value music as a whole. We're kind of living in this, like, people value it, but monetarily we're kind of living in this just McDonald's generation of music consumers.
Yeah.
That's a whole different topic. And so I switched as a career. I was like, well, people value video. People value video a lot. Like, it's like, if you don't know how to do video, you don't really know how to talk these days. It's so powerful. It's like the language of this generation. And so I took up that, kind of picked up a camera and started learning visuals and started doing branding stuff, and then slowly went into weddings and really, really loved the storytelling element of weddings. And I remember finding like Jay and Mac and Blink Films and White and Reverie and all these filmmakers that we look up to. I'm like, wow, like, it doesn't have to be lame, you know?
Yeah.
It can be actually like an extraordinary story with a beginning, middle, and end. And that's what music is too, you know? Music has a beginning, middle, and end. It has dynamics. It has, you know, kind of like the hero of the story is the melody, you know? And so I knew how to build a story musically. Now I just had to translate it visually.
Are you finding that's how you're making your films, and is it from an audio point of view initially before you even touch the visuals?
For sure. To me, that's the most important kind of shots during a wedding day. Is I'm always looking for the audio, you know, if that's the vows, if that's the toast, if that's some random moment in, you know, a suite, like a groom suite or bridal suite, or, you know, a moment with a family member where somebody's talking. And then from there, just really building out a cohesive story musically, not just 3 or 4 songs that I really like, but songs that intertwine and help each other and tell the overarching story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I find that massively work with your films. I feel like there's chapters and with different pacing, and all of it kind of bringing the music, but you got different tracks, all different kind of pacing, different tempo, all in line with what's being said as well. So you seem to start off quite high energy quite often, but then it kind of gets broken down to the more sentimental stuff and then kind of picks up again. And the music underlying that is just so perfectly placed, but more so the kind of transitions between the songs as well. Everything is definitely, you're not just slapping them in between each other with a fade. There's usually kind of other elements at play to kind of bring songs in, and I'm sure that's all intentional, right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. My buddy, he's another filmmaker, Films by Stanton. He coined the term hype sandwich, which I think is pretty accurate to a lot of my films. But yeah, I agree. I think you can achieve that quality of musical storytelling in a lot of different ways. But a lot of them being like key matching, dynamic shifts, and just understanding a little bit more about music theory. Anything crazy, but just these little kind of tips or tricks that will really set you up for the cohesiveness of a film.
I wanted to kind of understand like the American market a little bit, if that's okay, in terms of weddings, just briefly, because it's completely different to the UK from what I can gather. Sure. So the weddings that I see, a lot of your weddings, they seem to be like multiple days. Like you seem to have like perhaps a day before the wedding itself. Is that quite normal for an American wedding?
I would say it's probably pretty normal in the last couple years. Yeah. I didn't see that a ton until probably 3 or 4 years ago, kind of when I entered into the scene. I saw some of these filmmakers doing that, and I thought it was just absolutely genius and put so much less pressure on the actual wedding day. When I have like a day before with them, even a couple hours or even the whole day, I go into the wedding day so much more confident. I've gotten the cool portraits that I want to get. It's kind of like if the couple doesn't want to do portraits, or it's not the best time during the wedding day, I'm like, or they want to go to cocktail hour, I'm kind of just like, oh, go for it. Yeah. It's okay. Well, we'll get portraits tomorrow, or we got a ton yesterday, or we developed the story yesterday even more. I know what you guys are about. I can see it forming. It's just, I feel so much more confident when I spend multiple days with that couple. How is it in the UK? Is it kind of just a one day kind of thing?
Yeah, for the most part, really? A one day thing. And it's like kind of you're starting at kind of like 11 a.m. and you're finishing at 10 p.m. and it's kind of all condensed with that. And there's not as much emphasis on speeches or you call them generally toasts over there, right? That's basically in the UK, you get 3 people absolutely terrified out of their mind, not really wanting to speak, but they kind of feel like they have to. Whereas whenever I see American films, it's like everyone seems to be incredible at public speaking, as if it's just ingrained in them from birth. and I really want to know what that's all about. Are you being trained at school to speak publicly? What's going on there?
I mean, I've seen some pretty bad speeches and some pretty intoxicated speeches, so I'm not sure if everyone's good, but I don't know, maybe that is a cultural, I guess, thing that we just love speeches. I think it's kind of cool, like speaking to other people. I think the other to the like the day before, I love to introduce kind of a dialogue section in our we call it a story session. Basically, it's the day before. We spend like 2-3 hours with them. We go somewhere like super sentimental to them. We usually like them to pick it, and we get some portraits. We get them hanging out, do whatever activity they want to do, and then usually I set them up kind of across from each other, kind of like on a table, and I write little questions on pieces of paper. They could be like, what's your favorite trait about me? Or what are you most excited for the wedding day? Describe our journey leading up to this point. And I kind of say, all right, we're going to put these in front of you guys. You pick it up, read the question to the other person answers back. And then just have a conversation, and me and Sarah don't really want to be a part of this conversation. We just let them kind of go back and forth. And it's incredible, some of the dialogue that we pick up. Vows are this really beautiful, intentionally written words to each other. But dialogue, it tells a story as well. There's an art form in dialogue. It's why humans love listening to podcasts and are listening to this one right now. Like, we just love listening to people have conversation. It's kind of weird, but it helps the story of a film a lot when you get these kind of like dialogue moments intertwined with the intentional vows.
Yeah, and that's what I absolutely loved on your work, and I really wanted to kind of dive into that part of it, because you were literally getting them together, kind of orchestrating a moment, but then letting them have a moment within that kind of setup, aren't you? So is that something that's included in all your packages, or is it kind of like an add-on, like this kind of storytelling session? And when you do it, is a photographer there as well, or is it literally just for video?
I just want it to be just the video. That would be my preference. If the photographer does want to be there, sweet, but I usually say I want like 10 to 20 minutes just with them, just to be able to connect with them. A lot of what our job is like, honestly, just human psychology, trying to connect with these people as fast as possible. I am reading them like a book, trying to figure out their humor. Is it dry or is it sarcasm? Is it, and just trying to connect, like build trust as fast as possible. It's kind of like weird what we do,
like social manipulation in a weird way, isn't it?
Yeah. Like it's for the benefit of the story. And I will say the multiple day, there's a distinct difference in the films that we're with them for 3 straight days. Besides the one that we just show up on the wedding day. We're buds by the end. They fully trust us. It's a lot to like put a huge camera in front of somebody's face, and say, speak from the heart, or be in these crazy intimate moments with each other. That's intense, so.
That's such a big part of our job, isn't it? Being able to work with people, being able to know what you can and can't do with them in terms of what would make them comfortable or uncomfortable. And
for sure,
getting the best out of them. It's such a hard skill to master as well, right?
It is.
So if there's a multiple day, so I imagine that you have one day, the initial day before the wedding, you're kind of doing like a storytelling session with them. So you go somewhere, they're choosing our equivalent of an engagement shoot, isn't it? What photographers would call an engagement shoot, I guess. But you're getting them together and doing a storytelling. So when you're doing that storytelling session, are you running that multi-cameras? You and Sarah shooting it both at the same time? Is that how you'd work?
Yep. Yeah. I would say there's 3 goals, right? During that story session, there's connect with them. If our session is 2 hours, I'm going to spend like 20 minutes just talking to them, like human to human. How's wedding planning going? How's this? Tell me about this, like, and just connecting. Second is to put them in an environment where they feel most comfortable. That could be a lot of different places. One of my favorite sessions was we went to this ice cream shop where they like first met,
Oh, nice.
She was like working at the ice cream place and he would come and get free ice cream from her. They told they love each other, at this ice cream place. It's a ice cream shop, but there was so much sentimental value over that. There's a session where we went to the venue the day before, and they walked the venue and they talked about, like, they pretended they were getting married right there. Okay, so this is gonna happen here and this is gonna happen here, and they're gonna say pronounce as husband and wife, and then they kiss, and then I splice that in with actually what happened. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much depth to when the couple chooses where they want to go for a session. It doesn't have to be a beautiful mountain, or a hike or a sunset or a beach. It can be like very simple.
Yeah, and you're taking them to those places. It's just naturally going to evoke so many emotions for them. And when they start the dialogue, that's just naturally going to have more kind of emotional weight to it, isn't it? Because you're putting them in that environment that breeds that to a certain degree. Yeah.
Yeah. The last example I would say, I was just editing this one, so it's like fresh in my mind. But this couple wanted to us to come to their house, and they make pancakes every Sunday morning, right? And I slowly was able to pick up the overall word, I guess, of their story of simplicity. Like, that's their word, they love the simple ingredients of making pancakes and the simplicity of sitting down and eating a meal, on a Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually approached the wedding day with no like complexity, right? Down to the way I was shooting, the flow. I never use gimbal, but I brought out the gimbal because there's simplicity in, flowing shots, brought out the tripod, there was no like crazy handheld movements. It was just simple, and everything reflected that was in my head. They talked about, man, we complicate love so many times, but sometimes it's just simple, right? Yeah. And that was like the overarching theme. All the music, all the visuals, everything had to reflect that one word.
And so by spending this additional time with the couples, you're being creatively inspired by them way more than you possibly would do just on one wedding day. Because on a wedding day, almost everything is structured around them and they're forced into this kind of timeline of a day. But you're having this free-form day beforehand where you're getting to know them more, how they operate and when they're together naturally. And I guess that's inspiring you to how you're going to put their films together in a way.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I need this now. This every podcast. There's stuff I need to just bring into my work. But so is that kind of? Can we go into your packages a little bit? So what's the standard offering that you offer, and are you happy talking about pricing?
Yeah,
it probably won't translate very well to the English market, but it's interesting to know anyway.
So our kind of premium package, our main one that most people get, is a 6+ minute short film that usually is over 10 minutes every time.
Yeah.
I like to over deliver. And so I kind of say 6+ minutes. And then when it comes to delivering it for the couple, I'm like, it's 10 minutes, 10+ minutes,
Under promise, over deliver. It's always the best way,
exactly. Yeah. I do a social media trailer. We do a story session as well. 2 filmmakers, 10 hours of coverage. I've done the whole 8 hours. I've done 6 hours. It's just never enough time, so I need the full 10. And then also delivering to, there's usually moments like first look with dad or just moments that I'm not able to like put in the entire wedding film. And the longer I go throughout this career, I've kind of just been like, you need to have this. Like, you need to have this, Yeah. And so I put together just little like multicam moments for people. It takes me, 2 minutes to set up a multicam or their full first dance, and I'll just send it to them, Yeah. So I think I've really come into just the over deliver. Maybe at the end of the day, they'll have like 5 videos, including this very beautiful short film that I feel confident in. That's a part of my art form. Yeah. I've become a lot more loose,
With what you just said, you're sending more and more stuff. Did you deliver the ceremony in full as a separate video?
Yeah. So that's kind of an add-on. That's right. And that's part of our all-inclusive package. We have the ceremony, the toast, social media, the short film. And then our premium package starts at 9K, and then our all-inclusive package, I think, is 11.
Yeah. And for the base, the 9K package, are they getting the storytelling session with that as well, or is that?
Yep. Yeah. So that can be filmed on just a different day of the wedding. It can be filmed months before the wedding. It can be filmed a couple days before the wedding. It can be filmed after the wedding. It's just really whenever our schedules align. That's when we like to do it.
Is that kind of essential to how you like to put your stories together? Because I mean, all the films of yours that I've watched do definitely include a storytelling session, and it feels like it's. I don't know if I'd say it's the backbone, but it's certainly a theme that's running through, and you keep coming back to that, and it makes that. I don't know, it's got so much impact because we're not just thinking the day here, we're talking about their relationship and their kind of eternity together, I guess. It's kind of, it feels like we're looking back at their relationship, we're looking forward in their relationship. It's really ties everything together.
Oh, it is absolutely the backbone. You're right. If a couple were to say, we love your films, but we just don't want to do the story session, I'd be like, then we're probably not the right fit.
Yeah.
Like, it is essential. It is literally how we do. We're able to tell a story, And there's tension. You have to build tension, right? What is a story, right? A story in like a movie, a TV show, they follow this one rule, and it's tension and release, right? You build tension and then you release that tension. So how do you do that, right? In this sort of story, right? You put them together, you get them talking about the wedding. Oh, what are you most excited about for the wedding? Oh, I don't know. What are you most excited for? Let's describe our journey leading up to this point. Oh, well, we have 10 plus years to talk about. We've been together for so long. I'm excited for this. Oh, I love you for this, right? And they're getting ready, and they do their vows, and they have their first look, and then she's, they're walking down the aisle, and it's like tension. You're building that, and then like I pronounce you, a couple, they kiss. That's when the tension breaks.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not able to do my job if I can't build that tension.
Yeah. And you find, as a viewer, you find yourself so much more invested in them as a couple because you kind of know their backstory and you know their life beyond that one single day as well. It's kind of
for sure. Yeah.
And I've got to ask you how you film these because everyone's going to want to know that. Like, what's your setup? Are you, in terms of audio and in terms of cameras, because there's the two, I assume the two of you are doing it, right?
Yeah. I must warn people, I am not a gear junkie at all. Like, I don't care. I'm hard on my gear. Like, I see that as like tools, but not the end all be all. So I'm not like, I'm not super into gear, but yeah, people might be like, wait, is that it? Like that's the type of gear that I have. I'm on a Panasonic S1, Lumix S1. I have a Shinobi monitor, and I'm on a 2470 the whole day.
Nice.
And then Sarah's on a 50, then she switches to an 85 for ceremony and speeches. And then audio, I use Tascams. I use these Sony mics.
The TX650s have made their way to America. I love it.
Oh, man. Well, I heard, what's his name? Russell talk about it for the first time 4 years ago. He was showing these mics. And so I got two of them like 4 years ago, and I use them all the time. Oh my gosh, so easy to just boom, clip on. So thank you, UK, for that.
But I imagine, as like with your background, your musical background, I imagine you're quite an audiophile, right? So do you find the audio quality good enough? Can you work with that?
Anything's good enough. Like to me, all I care about is the story, right? Even so people kind of like say, oh, you're an audio guy, so you probably care a lot about like the audio equipment. Not really, right? So like in music, there's the producer, right? Almost like the creator of the music, writes the music, produces it, and then there's the engineer, right? Who refines it, who compresses, EQs, has just an incredibly scientific ear for perfection. And I am the producer creator, right? Like I am a very lazy engineer, right? And so I know enough, but what actually matters to me is like the story, right? So whatever is available on hand, if I have 0 mics and if I need to bust out voice memos on my iPhone to capture a moment and hold it out like this, because someone's talking, like that's good enough for me. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, and I 100% agree as well. I think with the TX650s, they take away every podcast, man, I go on this kind of love rant about the TX650s, but they take away so many barriers to creativity because they're so simple to implement, so quick to implement. You're not worrying about audio because you slap them on, you're done, you've got audio running, and you can tweak it to make them sound good, right?
Yep.
But so during a story session, are you laving them up? Are you laving both bride and groom up for that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And are you hiding it, or is it just like kind of stick it on?
Hide it if possible. If not, no worries. Again, I don't like. Yeah, I don't just care a ton. You know, like I literally just strap this to my this is a perfect example. Like that's how much I care, you know.
We're about speed. We're just about speed here.
We're about speed, we're about efficiency, we're about the story and the words that are actually spoken. Yeah.
And then how would you physically shoot a story session? Is it just one wide shot of them talking, or are you both kind of getting multi-cam angles of it?
Yeah, multicam. So again, facing each other, I think is really important. You have all these, you know, if you put them on a bench, it doesn't quite work where like they're sitting next to each other. Like I want them to see each other, you know, and talk to each other. So I'm over the shoulder of somebody and then Sarah's over the shoulder of somebody.
Right. Yeah. So similar how like the best people would do like ceremony vows kind of almost. That's
for
how
sure
you're approaching it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's a great example.
And to kind of explain it to people, because hopefully they've already seen your work already, I'd hope so. But like if they, to kind of refresh people's memories of how these kind of integrate into your film, you clearly also, not only you're doing a storytelling session, you're doing the dialogue, but then you're kind of almost doing kind of like an engagement shoot with them as well. Whatever that environment is, you're getting shots of them. So for the one example that's in my head now, you've done it at their home and they were painting a room. So they were kind of like decorating the room together, and then a lot of the dialogue throughout the day was about how they've created their home and where they are now, and it was all that was the theme was home, wasn't it? So had you done that session before the wedding or after?
No, that was actually before, but yeah, it became very. So that was like their first home that they bought together, right? And there was like this theme of just like you are my home, right? And so any way I'm going to go onto music licensing websites and search for lyrics about home. They said it in their vows, you know. Somebody said it in their speeches about, you make me feel safe, safety, security, home. Okay, now I have the theme, you know, like let's just punch that home.
And are you always looking for that theme? Is that something that every wedding that you want a theme, like a kind of a hook?
I would love that. I think if couples can understand that and I can find it and they talk about it or they express it, yes, that is my job, 100%. Does that always happen? No. And that's okay, you know.
With that one, I was like, this is so goddamn clever. Well, I was thinking, surely you've gone back afterwards and done the session later and brought the whole home theme in, but no, like they just so happen to work that way.
Oh, sometimes it just works out, you know? And then it's like, I remember that song I picked was pretty nostalgic. It kind of had kind of like these 70s drums, guitar, like real instruments. Everything was kind of like high passed a little bit to kind of show kind of like the retro vinyl days, you know, like kind of like warm audio and warm nostalgic audio, timeless. That kind of all connects to like home, you know.
Man, yeah. And I mean, as you say that's exactly how I felt watching that film. And that's cool. That's the power you can have with like sound design, right? I wouldn't have even considered like altering the song to make it feel like that, but it makes so much sense when you say it. Hi guys, it's Roo here, just briefly interrupting the episode to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Musicbed. Musicbed really is the best platform for licensing music for your wedding films. They have a huge database of amazing songs and brilliant search control so you can really hone in on the type of song that you need for your edit. Chatting to all these incredible filmmakers during the podcast, one of the repeated themes that I've noticed is that they're all using Musicbed to license their music. I myself have been using it for the last 6 years and really don't think there's anything else in the market that comes close. If you'd like to try Musicbed out for yourself, click the link in the description and you'll get a 14-day free trial where you can download and keep 3 songs to use in your projects, and you can see firsthand how good the music selection is. Now let's get back to the episode. So what's your workflow for putting your films together? How do you start? Because I imagine you've got a lot of content. Do you start with like the storytelling session? Is that what you edit together first, or how does it all play out?
I usually block like 4 days, 4 full days. I'm talking like from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. And these are like late nights. I would rather, and I can't have anything on the schedule either. That's another thing. Can't be posting, can't send emails. I am only editing this sucker, you know? And so
Yeah.
I just try to get lost in like the footage and try to get lost in music and visualize. I try to do a lot of visualization. I go for walks on the beach. I listen to music licensing songs, take notes, and just kind of let my mind kind of roll. And yeah, try to find just like, I guess the home run song is kind of what I call it. The home run song that's going to introduce, that completely describes who this couple is. I think about like music, you know, or just think about Hollywood films where Christopher Nolan writes a script for Hans Zimmer, and then Hans writes a piece of music to it, and then shows it back to, you know, Christopher Nolan, and then he maybe shoots a couple scenes and then sends it back. Like, it's this process that just kind of works back and forth. You know, people, do you start with the music or do you start with this? I'm like, I kind of start with everything, you know? It's not like a process.
That's giving me a headache just thinking about taking all that thought, because I need, with the way I work, I feel like I need to narrow stuff down and block things out because I get overwhelmed. But you are literally looking at everything in its entirety to build how you're going to create it. So it's not like you don't really have a process like, right, I'll pick the song first. It's a case of seeing what it is, seeing what the story is, and then working with whatever makes sense for that particular project.
Yeah. Actually, reminding myself now, another thing that I do as well is I record a voice memo like at the very end of the wedding night, like in the car driving home. This is what I felt. This was a really cool moment that happened. I was really inspired by this moment. Oh, remember when this happened? And I usually listen to that voice memo as well and try to get a gauge of where my mind was at, where the emotion of the day. Just try to match motion.
That's a great shout, because usually by the time I get into my edits, like 10 weeks down the line, I've been to so many weddings before in that time. Each one seems to erase my mind, like the Men in Black kind of like I'm completely gone. So to be able to get back into that emotional space, to be able to remember how that wedding felt to you, like, that's a really good shout. Yeah, I'm adding that to my toolkit, mate. That's going in there.
There you go. I love that. Do it.
So is that, when you were talking about the hype sandwich for your films, is that a consideration for most of them, or is it literally just a case of whatever that day felt like?
Well, I guess maybe there's another word for hype, but just the first minute, I really love to hook the audience, hook the viewer, have that home run song, you know, that completely kind of solidifies the experience of the wedding. And then kind of it starts at the bottom. So boom, it'll hit you. And that doesn't mean always like hype music. It just means more just a lot of energy and a lot of intensity, you know?
Yeah.
That could be beautiful strings and cinematic music, you know, it could be a pop song, you know, whatever. Boom, hit you in the face. And then I just basically start from the bottom and just build my way up until I pronounce you so-and-so. And that's kind of where the tension is released. And that's where the, I usually like to really listen to the recessional song. You know, I pronounce you, this couple. What is that song that plays right after? That, I think that's a super underlooked song. Because there's all this tension during the day, and then they kiss, the tension breaks. Like, what is the song that the couple chose that's going to release that tension, and they're going to walk back down the aisle, you know? That is a usually really good indication of what song to put at the end. What kind of song.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way. That makes so much sense. You're thinking they've picked that song for like the high, one of the highest points of the day, haven't they? Because it's kind of like, this is when we're finally married and this is when we celebrate walking down the aisle. Yeah, so the emotional attachment to that song is very specific, isn't it?
There's a lot of, you know, I think just music in general. What is music being played in each suite, you know? What's the playlist in the suite? I'm listening to that for sure, you know?
Yeah.
What is the first dance song, or the song of a grand entrance or an exit, or songs are really important. Just music in general. What is the music that's being played? We usually like to play music during the story session. I go, like what's music that describes your love? That's a really good question to ask couples, because if you were to just ask like, what's your favorite type of music? That's a lot of, you just opened a big door. But what's type of music that describes your love? That's more so, that's a lot better of a intentional question. I could answer that, about me and Sarah. Like I would know what type of melodies or what type of genre, is about our love,
Yeah.
And then, okay, we'll play that during the story session, during their portraits, see how they're interacting with each other, Music is just this spiritual kind of this weird mystical thing that we have in this world that just cuts through all logic, goes straight to the heart. There's two things that pierce the human heart: beauty and affliction. And music is beautiful, and it pierces the heart, right? And so couples react to that. So I'm always listening during the wedding day.
What's the first thing that goes down on your timeline then? Is it music? Yeah,
it's usually music or some type of audio element, a moment, a first look, a word in a vow.
Because for me, like with my editing process, I'm very structured. It's like kind of, I'm putting my songs down, I'm putting the way my films my longer films fall together, it's like there's a prep section, there's a ceremony section, and there's a cocktail hour party section, like the 3 sections. So I'm putting down 3 songs for each of those, and then putting my A roll over the top where I think it fits, and then B roll. But are you a little bit more freeform than that? I'm very kind of rigid with mine. Are you a bit more?
I am very freeform on the first day. For me, it's super important to get lost. Like if I don't come up with anything, like that first day, I don't have anything on the checklist, essentially.
Yeah.
Like I actually just want to get lost, see kind of where my mind goes, see what I put in the timeline for some reason, seeing what songs I put. There's no rules on the first day.
Yeah.
But day 2, 3, 4, 5 are very rigid.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. I don't just like,
but you give yourself a day of that. You give yourself a day
I have a day of that. I have a day of that. Yeah.
And so in that day, you kind of looking through the footage you've got, seeing what's there, listening to audio, seeing what's there, and just trying to be inspired by that day.
Yep.
And what would happen day 2 when you start getting rigid? What happens then?
That's where I start building out. I'm on a timer, with my work. I use this like all the time.
An actual clock there.
Yeah. I'm 30 minutes on, 5 minutes off. 30 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 30 minutes on, 5 minutes.
Is that to keep procrastination at bay?
Oh, yeah. Or just like help me stay focused. Sometimes I have a hard time focusing. So
same.
Yeah, we all do. All humans do now.
I think especially in this job though, if it's creatives, we're just inclined to wander with our minds and what we're going to do and just jump on to the next thing, right?
Yeah. I'm going through B-roll. I'm selecting this. I'm pulling this down. No, after that first day, I'm like, all right, let's get to it.
And then, when you get into it, what's the first bit you start with? Like when you kind of know where you're going to go, the direction of the film.
I like to go chronological. I know a lot of people. This was my understanding, and maybe this is just. I don't know if UK is something different, but it was chronological for a really long time, and then people were kind of nuanced, started with toasts, started this. It was just a conglomerate of like the experience. It was more just like a highlight video or like a recap.
Yeah.
I think the reason I say mine is a short film is it's a story to me. And so stories need a beginning, middle, and end. And so I do chronological. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely chronological. To be fair, my highlight films because I do like a longer 10-minute film, similar to what you do. But then I create like a shorter film. With the shorter film, I'm happy to move around in order a little bit. But even so, it still kind of goes in the. When I say I mess with the chronological order of it, I put my Corley stuff at the front, but then it kind of goes into chronological after that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But then I feel with yours, but sometimes your storytelling session though goes throughout the whole film though, right? It's not just at the start of it, is it? It's kind of...
It's usually at the start.
Is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Because in my head it was kind of going through the whole thing, like a kind of like the vein throughout it.
Sometimes it does, but for the most part, it's like you can follow the film. It's just chronological.
Yeah. And I guess that you're having that story session, they're often talking about what's going to happen on the wedding day. Then the wedding day happens. You like you're saying, you have got that beginning, middle, and end, and you're building up to that crescendo of happening.
Totally. I mean, it's so cool. It's like, I just remember the other day, a question was like, what are you most excited for on the wedding day? It's like, I just can't wait to see you in that tux. Like, you're just going to look so nice, What do you think I'm putting over, like, that audio? Him putting on a tux, It's, like, so easy. It's, like, makes my job so easy.
You're making this film for me with your words. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's such a good... I'd love to know if, like, the UK crowd would go for that, because I think English people, we're a lot more reserved than the Americans that I know.
Sure.
And we're kind of almost embarrassed to show our love and kind of talk about ourselves and each other. So it'd be interesting to know how that would go down. But my God, I wish someone would take me up on that. I really do.
I love that.
I love that process. Hi guys, just a quick break from the episode to tell you about some filmmaking products I've developed. The first are RooDogs. These are custom-made wind noise reducers designed for the Sony TX650 and 660 microphones. RooDogs not only help reduce wind noise and heavy breathing sounds, they also make the TXs look a little bit more like microphones and less like vapes. Here's a very unscientific demonstration of their effectiveness. For this test I held 2 TXs at my office fan at the same time, one with a RooDog on and one without. This is the recording without a RooDog. And this is the one with a RooDog. Without and with. The other product is the Yeti strap. This is a storage solution that can fit up to 6 Sony TXs, and it has a Velcro backing so it can be attached to the inside of most camera bags. It helps keep all your TXs together and stops them getting scratched. All these products are available from my shop, roo-films.com/shop, or follow the link in the description of the podcast. Now back to the episode. Let's go into sound, because I know how important that is to you, and how that is kind of now how your kind of career profession is evolving because of that.
Sure.
So how is the sound design process for your films? How do you go about crafting that?
I find my home run song that I found on day one of kind of me getting lost, and I literally just hit the same key, of what that song is, and just try to go through all the... I think we just need to implement the paradox of choice. I think when it comes to music licensing and music choice, are we using our music platform to the most potential, right? Like, are you familiar with the paradox of choice?
No.
It's kind of the idea, if you have too many options, it's overwhelming.
Right. Like choice paralysis. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so if, are you familiar with, so there's this restaurant in the States called Cheesecake Factory, right? They hand you a novel that it is a literal book that has like 20 pages of its menu. And there are all these different cuisines, and you're like, I'm stressed out right now. I don't know what to pick. But then you go to a place like In-N-Out. It's a burger chain in the States. There's like 5 things on the menu, right? And you're like, oh, that's great. Okay, I'll do this. So I'm saying we need to implement that more in the music process. Like you hear these filmmakers say, oh yeah, I spend like 2 weeks trying to find a song, or I spend days trying to find a song. I'm like, that's not a flex, like, I'm sorry. You just don't know your music licensing website, and you're not implementing paradox of choice. You're not hitting genres and hitting artists, right? Trying to key matching. So clicking a key that your home run song is in, that goes from tens of thousands of songs to maybe 1,000 songs, right? And then you hit ambient or cinematic, that takes it down to 500. You hit an artist that you really love, or you go to a filmmaker that you're really inspired by on one of their playlists. Like, it just gets, okay, wow, now I have 50 options for songs that I know will work. Like that is how you do it. You know, it does not take me very long to find songs. Maybe a couple hours.
So you're getting parameters that you're limiting your options basically so you get a clear. It's easier for you to make a selection. So you're choosing a home run song whenever whatever that key is. That's then filtering the next songs you're having. So all the songs you're choosing from are only the ones in that key. So then they blend into each other, right? Naturally.
Exactly.
Quite
and you know that they're gonna work. I think for beginners, I can get into the circle of fifths and music theory and choosing the fourths or the fifths or the minor third, whatever, but I'm not going to do that to like simplify it. If you are actually wanting to get into just key matching, just pick the same key as one of your songs. Like these licensed websites make it so easy. And then out of those songs, are going to flow with each other very, very well if it's in the same key. And
your home run song, so you've got multiple, so how many songs are generally in your films?
Probably maybe four.
And where's the home run song go? Is that at the start or is that kind of in the middle or?
It really depends. It's usually at the start. But during that first day, anything could happen.
Yeah.
I try to come away with one song on that first day.
Yeah. But then once you've got that one song, it makes the rest of the process easy because that's all the parameters of the rest of the song choice are made because of that. Yep,
exactly.
And then, so I guess you've got no hard structure in terms of home run song goes here, then I need a slow, quieter song in that same key here. It's a case of however the day and the dialogue you've got to piece together is.
Yep. Yeah.
What's your process for bringing dialogue through into your songs? Are you just a case of like you're dropping the volume down to a certain extent, or are you kind of getting into the EQ to kind of mess about with that kind of elements? That's not something I do, but I know a lot of filmmakers do.
Totally. It's developed over the years. I think it's case by case, but volume with a combination of a low pass or a high cut into the EQ. Vocals.
What's a high pass and low cut for a simple man like me?
Yeah. So like you go in your car, and you have a bass knob, you have a mid knob, and then you have high. That's essentially just EQ, right? And so a high pass or low cut is taking off the highs, so that vocals can live in that frequencies. Vocals usually range. My voice ranges around like 1 to 2K. Others are a little bit higher, and so it just leaves room for that voice to be in. Another thing, like kind of advanced kind of thing that I've been doing is called a ghost vocal trick. I'm always switching between like an instrumental version to a song to the main vocal version of a song. So like when I download on music licensing websites, I'm downloading the instrumental and vocal. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm switching back and forth. I can always tell a distinct difference when I switch between the vocal version and the instrumental version. Like it almost like loses energy. The vocal version clashes with any like audio that I have, like a speech or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so my workaround is putting the vocal version into Lalal.ai, a vocal software that isolates vocals, and then I put the vocal version in. I low pass the vocal and add a ton of reverb to the vocal, and so the vocals kind of sound like this kind of ghost. It kind of has like this ghost effect, but it's enough where it won't interrupt the audio of like the speeches or the vowels, right? And so as I'm transitioning from the vocal version into the instrumental version, I have another track that I call the ghost vocal. That's kind of just like there. And then so when I transition back into the main version, it doesn't feel like the energy like completely loses its luster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that kind of ghost vocal section is the kind of go between the two. So it kind of like you're transitioning, that's in the middle of the transition as you go from one to the other, that kind of ghost vocal.
Yeah, essentially.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I know that feeling because I quite often do that when I switch between the vocals, and that there is something. It's almost jarring sometimes when you kind of like
Yep.
come out of it, but I guess that's what you're using to get around that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it's with your audio down, you've got your kind of your narrative in there. Then I know you're quite big at bringing in kind of other elements, aren't you? And which is kind of what your film score pack is all about. Can you tell what else are you adding to your films?
I'm a music guy, and so I started adding like pads or drones to make songs longer in the same key, right? I just needed like 15 seconds extra, to transition a song or at the very end of a song. And it just had to be just like something cinematic and, almost just like this drone. And so that kind of sparked the idea, like maybe filmmakers would want a pack of kind of like musical stems in all 12 keys. Like that could be kind of cool, right? But I kind of knew, I was like, this isn't gonna work though. Like there's nothing out there in the industry that even has something like this. I don't even know if filmmakers will understand this. Whatever. Like I'm just gonna make this for me because I know I would use the crap out of it. And so yeah, I created this pack that has it's essential. It's musical and tonal sound effects in all 12 keys that you don't have to have like crazy musical knowledge or any like music background. You don't need to go to Juilliard, to create music from scratch or build off of these royalty-free music licensing songs. And apparently people really like it. So it was quite the shock to me when people really started to get it and understand it and almost become like their own composers and put on and claim that you are a musical storyteller, you are a composer, you are a audio engineer. Like that's what you are, like us as we're called videographers, and that's cool. Like that's what the industry calls us, but that kind of entails that we only shoot visuals, which we do. That is a big part of what we do, but we're dealing with music, and music is insanely powerful. It's actually more connected. And sound is more connected to our memory than our visuals are. Like scientifically, like it's proven. I could put up a pretty strong argument if we're talking about a couple's emotion and a couple's implicit memory, emotional based memory, that music and sound is more important than visuals. So if we want our couple to remember their day, it's I mean, that might be controversial or whatever, but I think it's true.
Yeah, I agree, and like it's so powerful. But I kind of want to explain in basic terms to people what this film score pack is, because it's just if you don't have it, you're doing yourself a disservice as a filmmaker. You really are. That's how passionate I am about it. And I know that you sponsored us for Coda, so yes, I should be singing its praises, but I got in touch with you initially because I just love the product so much that I want to share it with people. And so basically, if you've got a song that's, I don't know, even 70% there, but it's missing certain elements, you want it to drop away at certain points, or you want it to raise and you want there to be some hits, you can add that with this film pack, right? The thing that I find myself using it quite often is I've got a film and I've got a song, it's perfect, but I want a bit of a slower intro, I want a bit of a slower build up. I'm often using parts and some of the kind of like the drones, some of the stems and that from the film pack, just to give myself a more gradual build, and then have like maybe a hit in there all of a sudden to then make the song kick in. So it's allowing me the freedom to manipulate songs to create a sound. I feel like I'm creating a score to my film rather than just slapping a song down there. And I guess that's the motivation behind the whole thing, right?
Yeah, have more control over your story, right? Instead of just sticking to the bounds of licensed music. We download a song that's 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay, I guess I have to fit my story perfectly and have the perfect dynamics where the song is. It's like the song is telling you what to do instead of you telling the song what to do. And that's taking the control. And so it's almost a mindset shift, right? It's going through these songs, and because I see this all the time, filmmakers go through songs and it takes them forever to find a song, and they might find a song that they like, right? There's elements that they like, but it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
And they move on despite liking a song. It's a mindset shift of knowing that a song is wrong, but dreaming of what it could be.
Yeah.
You know, and so it is very much a mindset. But I think when it clicks for filmmakers, I've seen it click a lot. Filmmakers freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing ever, you know. And that's where like the beauty of this whole multiply sound thing has ended up, you know. It's cool.
Was it not tempting just to keep it all for yourself when you made all these sound effects because it's so powerful?
No, man. I bring this to the world. That's my story. It's cool. You're in UK. Are you familiar with Radio Caroline, pirate radio?
No, I'm not.
No, you're not familiar with pirate radio? Back in the 60s, the England had banned music in like rock and roll on the radio, and so there's a group of people who set up a ship and put a radio station on the ship, sailed outside the border of England, and then broadcast the radio back in.
Wow!
And so they were
in know international.
This. Yeah, I feel like you should too. They were in international waters, and it was technically illegal, but it wasn't illegal because they were outside of the border, right? And they were the first radio station to play the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and my granddad was a part of that original crew.
No
and so
way.
there's legacy of music, bringing music to the world in me, that I feel like very strongly about.
Yeah. And my gosh, you are in spades, mate, bringing it over. What are some of the most creative ways you've seen people use your film pack?
Oh, man. I mean, to build just a score from scratch with zero musical background is pretty insane. That filmmakers can do, you know, or build like full minute intros that lead into songs, or strip vocals and isolate vocals to make something new. It's so cool. I just like, really my goal with it was just to give, you know, kind of Legos, you know, for people to play with, and then they'll make something of their own, you know. So it's really cool to see people claim the music in them, because it's true. We all have music in us, right? Like it's we are more than just videographers. I could go off on a rant about that.
No, I love it. And one of my friends, Steve Ringrose, I want to give him a shout out. One of these films that he put out recently. The couple, I think, part of the wedding, they're singing Simply the Best, Tina Turner. And
okay.
Is that what it's called? Is it actually called Simply the Best? You know the song? What's the name of that song? Is it called Simply the Best? Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's got a different name.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the couple are singing that song. So he has that playing out. Then he stripped out the vocals from the actual song. Has that coming in, and then he's used your film score pack to kind of like build up to it. And he's put a completely different song. Then he's got a song of the same key underneath. So those vocals and the same tempo, those vocals are going across. And it's because of the tools from the film score pack that he's been able to bring that all together. And for the couple, I can't even imagine how they felt seeing that. Like a song that's so important to them, a part of the day that's a real nice moment, and then going into this emotional. The payoff, amazing, brilliant film.
I love that. That's what it's about, man. That's what we are. Okay, quick rant.
Go on, hit me. Come on.
Yeah, music is in us, you know. The world tries to separate the whole idea of the consumer of music, the person who listens and goes onto Spotify or iTunes and listens to music, and the person who creates the music, right? The musician, the artist. society right now is saying these are two different people. When back in the day, man, if you had a voice, you were singing, right? If you had sticks, if you found sticks, you were drumming, right? People, tribes, ancient groups would come together and as a people be participants in the creation of music. It didn't matter if you were a musician or not, or had a music background or not. You were making your own song. And that's really all I'm trying to say with Multiply Sound, to be honest. I'm just like, you actually have a cadence about you. You have a melody inside of you. And maybe you've actually never paid attention to it or understood that, but it's insanely true. You have a unique melody that is desperately wanting to manifest outside of you. And so if the film score pack can be a way to do that, you know, without extensive music background or music education, then that is awesome. That's what I want, you know, for filmmakers and storytellers.
That's exactly what it's doing as well, because the whole song's in the same key. Even though I understood musical theory to a certain degree, I never even thought about that. I never even thought about it until the film score pack came out and made me so acutely aware of keys in song and how using that can make them, you know, transition so smoothly. It's really opened my mind. And now I'm looking at my songs now, like I said, like I find that song, it doesn't have to be 100% there. It can be 70% there. And I know I can build on that using this pack. And because we're on volume 2 of the pack now, aren't we?
Yep. Yeah.
Is there a volume 3? What's happening?
I don't know. I have no idea. So like I said, the whole idea was kind of created out of a place of a little bit of hesitancy. Like the pack is, volume 1 is obviously an insane, beautiful pack, and I'm not doubting the sounds in there, but it was just kind of created with like I don't know if this is going to work or not, you know, but I'll use it. Right. And so I'll admit there was some flaws in there that I found. And I think I came in with volume 2 just being so confident, you know? I know what filmmakers want. I know what I screwed up in the first one, and I'm going to knock it out of the park this time. So I don't know. Who knows? Until I feel like something needs to be fixed or changed or modified, I will. But I think volume 2 is my best work.
And it's stunning. The thing is, I've got both packs now, and it's kind of like because I don't know which ones I'm taking from which, because I think I'm taking bits from both.
Nice.
But then I forget.
Nice.
So I need both now. I can't be without them. It's just part of the process. Absolutely.
Let's go.
Part of the process. And so what's next for Multiply Media and Multiply Sound? Is there any things on the horizon? Any projects?
Yeah, I've actually decided to step away from weddings. It's kind of funny that we've been talking about weddings for a while, but I've always known that weddings have been an incredible part of my journey, and I love doing them. And but I am just way more passionate about music and bringing a sound and helping filmmakers express that sound through their films, you know. So I'm going all in on Multiply Sound. I kind of just took a huge risk. I said no to probably over 100 weddings. Wow. And for this year, and I think I have only one wedding next year. But yeah, that's the idea. And I love it. I'm very passionate. I love doing a lot of creative things. You know, I'm making my own clothing, and me and my buddy are doing a conference in January about aligning with your life. And I have my own music, like alternative pop music. So there's a lot of things that I do. And that's also another overarching idea, you know, of you are just, you are so much more than a wedding videographer. We're not what we do. It's a very small part of who we are. And so, that might kind of, I actually haven't said that to, I guess, any wedding videographers or like on a podcast at all. So there you go.
Wow. Well,
Y'all know.
exclusive. It's so interesting. I always wonder about, because I think, how long can I do weddings for? Like, realistically.
Sure.
So I'm always interested in people transitioning out and like following their
Yeah.
passions. But you were so clearly a true creative, where you'll go wherever like your creative itch is getting scratched. I feel like it's a case of no hard fast rules where you want to be. It's like chasing your passions to a certain extent. Is that how life has been playing out for you?
Oh my gosh. Creativity is everything. What I create is everything in this world. Giving what I've been given back, you know? And so that's another reason why we moved out of a big city in Denver and moved to a town that has 600 people in it, and the average age is 65.
Wow.
And we're just like on the beach, you know, and there's space, there's freedom to be bored. I was bored as a kid all the time, and the more I grew up, there was more noise, more obligations, more things pulling me in different directions, and I was like, don't want it. I want to be in the middle of nowhere where I can just wake up and do exactly what I want to be doing. And I want to create, you know, and that might be wedding film, that might be a song, you know, that might be clothing. Whatever comes to me, you know. It's about getting lost. You have to get lost to then find what you need to create.
Yeah, that's amazing, mate. I mean, a massive loss to wedding filmmaking, absolutely, because you guys are incredible. But yeah, I'm so inspired by you chasing your passion, man. I love that.
Yeah, dude, honestly, right back at you. Like, your visuals are just absolutely stunning. I've always struggled because my second kind of what I've been have to learn as a videographer is video. You know, I'm like pretty good at everything else, but like holding a camera and, you know, the movements around it and getting the right settings and the lenses and all that and color correction. Oh, I am so bad with color, but it's just that was one thing that I really stuck out to me, is like the stylistically, it's just beautiful. Like you have beautiful frames, beautiful color.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
you're not supposed to say nice things to me. This is all about you, mate.
No, it doesn't have to be. Your work is very inspiring, man.
Oh, thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Like, that means so much coming from me, Boomer. I really appreciate that,
dude.
But thank you so much for your time today, mate. Like, but please, come on, Volume 3. We need it. Let's go.
I don't know what people do, man. I'm not trying to like oversell out here. I think this industry can easily be like, oh, just here's another product. Like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to take people's money. I'm actually trying to make something that is timeless.
Yeah.
So if this is the last pack that I make, I'm not saying that is, but if it is, like, that's okay with me, because I actually want this product to stand the test of time, and that's how I created it. That I don't need another one. And to whoever's listening, 30% off. What is it? Coda 30. If you want to use that, if you are interested in the film score pack or these tonal sound effects, get it. Oh, and reach out to me too. I know the whole idea of music and tonal sound effects is such a new thing to this industry that I want to actually make myself as available as possible. So I promise, if you DM me, I will respond. If you have a question, I absolutely will answer. I'm not here to leave you out to dry. I'm here to set you up for success in any way that I can. Yeah,
100%. And there's also, if you need to speak to some filmmakers that I know are obsessed with it, check out Christopher James Films, Christopher Potter, and he introduced me to it, so check him out, people. And also Steve Ringrose from Blue Ridge Wedding Films, go speak to him, because
let's go.
I know we're all obsessed with it. Like, that's the one thing with Coda. I don't want to push things on people, but anything that I truly believe in, I want to shout from the rooftops, and I absolutely believe in your film score pack. And thank you for creating it for us, mate.
Thank you so much for your time, man. This has been incredible. I appreciate you and your talent in facilitating this beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode and wouldn't mind helping us out, please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts.